Hi, this is Professor Scott Norman with another lesson. Today we're in the PSU Fuels Lab, and we're going to talk a little bit about how does a technician determine if they do have too much alcohol content in their fuel. So typically if you put an E85 in a vehicle that's not supposed to run it, the adapts are going to go up very high. It's going to be showing that it's a lean condition. So at some point, the technician is probably going to hook up a fuel gauge to check fuel pressure to make sure fuel pressure is up at the correct level. I always tell my students, not only do you want to check fuel pressure, you always want to check volume. So as you're checking volume, you're seeing how much fuel is going to come out in so many seconds. I tell them just take a sample. Is all you're going to do. You're going to take the fuel and you're going to open up your little nozzle on your fuel gauge and you're going to take a sample of it. I tell them that you want to take it, you want to maybe smell a little bit. You want to take a look at it, make sure that it smells and it looks normal, because the E85 does have a different smell than regular gasoline. Some things that are important when you start comparing gasoline and E85. This is a container of 100 milliliters of water and 400 milliliters of gasoline, regular gas. I'm sorry, this isn't gasoline, this is E85. And so I don't put any indication on here because I have the students try to figure out what it is. But if you take a look at it, there's a separation line right there is what happens. And so the key is that something that is unique about alcohol, E85, and water is that we say that alcohol or E85 is a very hygroscopic. It absorbs the water. So what happens is that the alcohol content and the water are down here. They combine, they mix, and then you have the gasoline at the top. So what we're going to do is that we're going to use this phenomenon of actually taking a measurement to determine how much alcohol content is in the fuel. If I compare gasoline, this one is the gasoline, and that I put water, I put the same thing, I put 100 milliliters of water at the bottom, or fill it up, and then I put the gasoline on the top, 400 milliliters, so it's 500 milliliters total. And the key is that this thing's been sitting here for years, and the water is still at the bottom, the gasoline is at the top, the gasoline and water does not mix. Oil and water do not mix, okay? And so this here is kind of showing you, well, what happens when water gets into your fuel tank? Well, on the old trucks and the old semi-57 Dodge, what happens is that the fuel pumps rust out and the tanks rust out because all that water is at the bottom. I'm going to shake this up a little bit, and we're going to let it sit, and we're going to come back and we're going to show you that, hey, it's still going to have the water on the bottom and the gasoline on the top. So think about your old pickup truck that has gasoline in it. It sits all winter long, okay, and it has some moisture in it, and it gets some water condensation built up inside that. That's going to, again, rust up the bottom of your fuel tank. It's going to rust up your fuel pumps. So us going to plastic fuel tanks is really a fabulous thing, because we don't have to worry about any of our fuel tanks rusting out anymore. Okay, so what we typically do in a very controlled environment, if we want to know exactly how much alcohol is in your fuel, typically we expect 10% alcohol to be in our fuel at any given point. Okay, they do that to help raise the octane of the regular gasoline. Is that we'll put a mixture of water and fuel in some controlled device. This is a pretty precision beaker here, and I typically tell the technicians to do it as a 10-to-1 ratio. So what you're going to do is that you're going to fill it up, let's say 10 milliliters of water. I put the water in first, I mark it, and then I put the fuel in at a 10-to-1 ratio. So if I'm going to put 10 milliliters of water in, I'm going to put 100 milliliters of fuel in. Okay, you put it in, you shake it up, and you try to see if there's a separation here. And so the water level was here, and now the water level goes way up here to the top. And so what I could do then is I could determine exactly what my ratio of alcohol and fuel is. Is it 10%, or is it 20%, or is it 30%, or is it 85%? And so it's a nice way to do that. They do sell some test kits out there. BG, for example, sells a test kit that we have, and so open up this kit here. I thought I had it already opened up and ready to go. And so when you look at it, the only thing that's in it is a beaker. A beaker with a plug on it, but it tells you, hey, fill up with water at this level, fill up with fuel at this level, and then it gives you your percentage of how much alcohol you have in your fuel, because again your water alcohol content will go up higher as the water and the alcohol combine with each other. I would not buy this if I was a technician, I wouldn't even buy this as I was a technician. What I would have technicians do when I was training Chrysler technicians for 14 years is I would have them grab a jutty jar. And so what I did is I put, I think I put 100 milliliters of water in, and I just marked it. So I got 2 jars right here, and they got the same amount of water in, and I just marked a line on it. And so what I'm going to do then is I got 2 samples of fuel, and I already got it mixed up. I don't know which one is which. And I'm going to pour 1 sample in this jar. So this would be the fuel sample that you took as you hooked up your fuel gauge. And you close the jar. I like using jelly jars just because they're tempered a little bit and a little harder to break, and I can seal them up pretty easy, and they're cheap. I can go to any store and just pick up a dozen of these fairly easy. Or maybe your grandma has them down in the basement somewhere that she's not using them anymore, and you could borrow a few of them from her. So I'm gonna put this one in. And so these 2 samples. 1 sample was old fuel out of someone's tank that's been sitting around for a long time. And so we're gonna shake it up. And let's see, then we're gonna let that sit just for a little bit. As I come back to the gasoline that I shook up earlier, you can see that the water and the gasoline did not mix. That they're separated out. Water's gonna be at the bottom, which I think is a bad thing. If you want to say that, well, what's the advantage of E85? And that is, if there is any water in your fuel, the water is going to mix with the alcohol, and so you don't have pure water down there. It's going to burn that. The problem with this is, again, you get water in your fuel system, and it does has alcohol in it. Is that this amount of fuel right here, which is most of it, is pure ethanol and water. So this is very good octane, 100 octane fuel, and you're running on pure alcohol. If you try to start this on a cold day, not going to start very well. When you use all this fuel, and when you get to this fuel level right here, which is now gasoline, and it's probably not very good gasoline, probably has really low octane on it, because we're using this alcohol that has really good octane in order to raise up the octane level here. So I'm afraid is that when you start using this really poor gasoline at this level, that hot day, you're pulling a boat or something on a trailer, and the engine's going to start knocking on you. And so that is something you have to worry about with the phase separation of the alcohol. As I take a look at my 2 samples and see what we have here, this one right here, I could already see separation take place. So if I take a look at that, I could already see a line. If we let this settle for a while, it'll be much clearer. But I can see that at this particular level, I don't have to start doing any type of measurements, but I know that, hey, that was E85, because most of it, over half of it, over 3/4 of it was alcohol, and probably maybe 1/4 of it or so was probably gasoline. So that's pretty obvious. Again, you can see my line down here at the bottom, that was water, and how it went up from there. If I take a look at my other set, you can see my line. You can see that the water level is pretty much where it was at. It didn't really change. It didn't go up. And so is there alcohol in that fuel? 1%, 2%, 10%. I'd have to have this settle a little bit in order to get a precise measurement. Again, I'm not really care. The technician probably doesn't care if there's 10% alcohol versus 2% alcohol in their fuel, because all modern fuel systems are designed to run at least 10% alcohol. What they're caring about is that there's 70, 75, 80, 85% alcohol in their fuel in a car that does not design it. That's what they really care about. If I'm wanting very, very precise information of how much alcohol is in your fuel, Maybe you're going to a station that is claiming no alcohol in your fuel and you want to test that. Well, I'm going to get a lot more precise and I'm going to start doing some exact measurements of a 10-to-1 ratio so I can see if there's 1% or 2% alcohol in that fuel. This is Scott Norman. And if you want a continuing update of these videos that I'm making daily for this semester while we're all on lockdown because of the coronavirus, please follow my YouTube channel. I came out with a new YouTube channel. Look for Professor Pintane YouTube channel, and you'll be able to find me. Have a good day. Thanks, guys.